So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to Radio Works World. My name is Dr. Gill Barham. I am the Miracle Molecule host, the heart host of the Radio Works World family. And today I am having a light-hearted conversation with Monika Laschkolnig, all the way from Austria. So good afternoon to you, Monika.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to be on your wonderful show. It's really an honor to have been invited by you. Thank you.
You're very, very welcome. Now, I know you're an hour later than us over there, so it's about just after 4 o'clock, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Okay. So, Monika, we're going to have a fabulous half an hour or so together. But before we start having our bit of a chat, what I'd like you to do, please, if you would, is share with our listeners who are listening live, but also who are going to listen to the show later, because that's what generally happens. I'd like you to share with everybody, please, what it is you do and what you're passionate about, what you love about your work.
Well, there's a number of things that I do. I sometimes feel like a Renaissance woman doing a number of different things. My primary business is education. So we bring English to children starting age 3 months up to 14, 15 years of age. And another passion of mine is self-worth and self-esteem, how to enhance it. So I wrote a book. I have a book that was actually a bestseller. And the title is One Question That Can Change Your Life. And it really goes into enhancing your sense of self-worth, because it's very easy to work on your competence, but how do we work on our worthiness? So that's what the book is about. And since I'm really interested in humans and transformation and inner transformation, I have started Inner Strength Academy, where we teach 5 different subjects. One is success and sense of self-worth, because it's really connected, because you can only allow as much success in your life as you feel worthy of. Then conscious parenting. Then something that I love is self-love and self-forgiveness. Then management by intuition. I am an entrepreneur and I apply intuition to my business, and it really seems to work very well. And then the last thing, which is actually the core of my interest, it's modern spirituality. So that's what is in the program. It's still in the build-up phase. The website is being under construction because it's going to reflect all those areas. So yeah, I'm excited to be able to announce it fully soon.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for sharing. My internet is a little bit slow. I've no idea. I work out of this hub in a local town, and sometimes if I've got lots of people online, then it seems to knock off my business or my internet provider. We have the lovely Marina Lani, who is joining us live. So Marina is the founder of Radio Works World, and she's saying, "Welcome, Monika. You are Stardust."
Hello, Marina. Hello.
Okay, so here we go. So thank you very much. I've very interested in what you do, and I'm going to ask you a little bit more about what you do and what's coming up for you at the end of our show, end of our time together. But the rest of this show, actually, Monika, is all about you.
Wow.
So most people that I interview, they say, "Well, I'm not used to talking about me. I'm used to talking about what I do and what I do for other people." But never fear. It's going to be fine. You're going to have a nice time. I promise you.
Well, I'm getting curious, and let's see what comes out.
Let's see what comes out. Okay, so for anybody that hasn't seen one of the shows before, I need to kind of explain a little bit of the background so that you can understand why I devised the show. So essentially, we have the longest running BBC4 radio show called Desert Island Discs in the UK here. And it's been going, I don't know, over 40 years, 50 years maybe, even something like that. And it's one of my favorite radio shows because essentially what they do is they get people from all walks of life and they interview them and allow them to choose 8 tracks of music. And amidst the tracks that they play, they talk about their life and at strategic times, points in their life. They send them off to a virtual desert island. They're allowed to take the Bible and the complete works of Shakespeare. They have to choose one favourite one of their tracks, and they're allowed to take another book and a luxury. So everybody gets asked the same thing, basically. And what I love about it, Monika, is that even if you think that you know the personality or the person, or perhaps you've never met, or you've got a judgment about, the scientist that's on and what they're going to be like, throughout this show, actually, you get little snapshots and you understand those people a bit more. And so what I wanted to be able to do was to create a platform for people of significance like yourself, who are doing such great work in the world, to be able to just have little snapshots of you and your life and what has made you into the person that you are, and perhaps made you decide to do what you do. On the basis that if people can connect with you more, so if people know, love and trust you, then they're more likely to be able to come and work with you. Would you agree?
It's a wonderful idea. It really is the basis of any connection, just to know somebody beyond the role, beyond the title. Who is this person? So this is the most interesting. That's what I love about people, to really get their story, their real story.
And I love the show because essentially I'm very nosy. So this is really easy for me because I love asking people questions, and I always have. Okay, so just to say that, Monika, you haven't looked at any other shows, have you?
Not yet. I didn't have a chance. No, well, this is good. And I actively discourage people from looking at other people's shows because everybody gets asked the same question. Oh, okay. So I want these questions, your answers, to be very spontaneous because that's really, speaking your truth at that point. So that's what we're going to be doing. Are you ready? Yes, I am. It sounds very interesting.
Oh dear. Okay. All right. So here's the first question. So it's based on a bit of a scenario. Okay. So I'd like you to imagine that you're going into a hotel. You're going to have lunch in this hotel. You're very hungry, and you go into the lobby and into the elevator or the lift on the first floor. One other person gets in the lift with you. And as you go up to the top floor for your very nice lunch, unfortunately, the lift breaks down between floors 6 and 7. Now, I have some bad news. The bad news is that the engineers telephone you to say you're going to be in there for a good 2 or 3 hours, Monika. But here's the good news. 2 bits of good news. One is that you have windows, so you're not going to get claustrophobic. And the other bit of good news is that you get to choose who that other person was that got in the lift with you. So of everybody that you know, dead or alive, anybody that you would love to spend 2 or 3 hours with to ask all the questions that you've ever wanted to ask, who would that one person be?
Oh, I would love to fill up the elevator with so many interesting people. Actually, I would like it. Does it have to be a person whom I know?
No, definitely not.
Okay, so let's say it this way. It should be a handsome, unmarried man.
No, I need a name.
Okay, so a person whom I don't know, right?
Well, a person that you do know, or anybody from history, dead or alive. Who would you like to spend 2 or 3 hours with, to ask all the questions, or do whatever you want to do with them in that lift? Ben, my lovely friend Ben, wanted to spend 2 or 3 hours with Michelle Pfeiffer. We'll just leave that there, shall we?
Yes. Oh, that's a question. Let it be.
Love, who do you admire?
I would like to Leonardo da Vinci.
Oh, haven't had him.
Absolutely, it was a genius. I heard, used to sleep only 15 minutes every second hour because he was creating the rest of the time.
Wow.
He was a genius in so many different areas. I would love to meet him. I would really love from the heart to meet him, to spend a little bit time of talking about his paintings, but also, even more than that, talking about what was bringing him all those ideas and what were other ideas that he never mentioned.
What else was there? It's really interesting talking about sleep. I was talking to Davina McHale, whose interview I did a week or so ago, and she was talking about Albert Einstein. And it's interesting that you talk about sleep, because Albert Einstein did his best work when he slept a lot. So if he got a good 9 or 10 hours of sleep a night, that was when he was at his most productive. So it's really interesting that Leonardo actually was almost on the opposite side of that and just needed these little top-ups of sleep. Isn't that fascinating?
But every 2 hours, so he never went into the deep sleep phase.
No.
He would just go on the creative part, and then again and again regularly. He had someone who would wake him up. So it was someone's job to wake him up. So he would never really go into deep sleep. So he would really he kept creating. There was almost like never dying, or dying for a short moment and continuing with the same life, same body, same consciousness, because the sleep gives you such a huge break. And if you are in a flow, actually, when I'm in a creative flow, I don't want to go to bed. And I know that you need to sleep, but I find sleep a waste of time. Actually.
Oh, my goodness me.
And I noticed that when I'm tired and my rational mind switches off, I'm becoming the most intuitive of all my states. So I actually like being a bit tired, because then really I get connected and the flow of creativity comes. When I'm completely fresh, it's also possible, but there are different types of thoughts that come in. And I'm maybe productive, I can think about organizational things and so on. But when I'm tired, I'm very creative. I wrote my book at night. Well, actually, I had 2 children, so I had 2 jobs. So I have a big job, and I also consult and do transformational work with people, mentor people, and so on. So I had time at night only after my kids went to bed. So I cleaned everything up, and then I would sit down. So it was around 10 o'clock, sometimes 11, sometimes 9 when I was lucky. And I would go till 3 in the morning. Sometimes I had days when I would write till 5 in the morning, getting up at 6 because the school and kindergarten would not wait. So I had to bring my kids there. So it was really interesting. But after 3 months, my book was ready, but I could not stop. I would really love to type with that pen. I had to stop. So
okay, I just like to put out a warning here to everybody that's listening. You can do that for short periods. I have to have my health coach hot hat on. I'm really sorry, but having a lack of sleep is one of the 4 pillars of health. And so, yes, do it for short periods. But please don't do that for a long time, because it will lead to collapse. I just had to say that.
Yes,
but I know you do that now.
It's not what I could do every day, but this was a period of time that was really. I say, if you want to write a book, and you really can't stop it, this is exactly. You just need to use the time. And if some people say, I would like to write a book, I don't know how. I say, well, the passion doesn't seem to be there. Because if you really want to write, you can't stop. You can't wait for the moment when you can sit down and write.
Yeah, good advice. Okay, so thank you very much. Now, Leonardo was on his way to lunch too. Okay, so he's hungry. And I am going to magic you up a lovely table with lovely white tablecloth and cutlery and crockery and so on. And like Harry Potter, I know you have children. Like Harry Potter, I am also going to magic you up your favorite food that you would like to share with Leonardo. So what do you like to eat and drink? What would you choose to share in your lift
He was Italian,
Leonardo.
and I was born in Poland, so I'm sure he didn't know Polish food. So I would like to get him a bit of Polish food taste. And then, since I live in Austria, a little bit of Austrian food as well. So there are certain things that I love in Polish cuisine. These are, for instance, pierogi.
Yes, my daughter's been in Poland for a year, in Krakow, so I did the pierogi thing.
Absolutely. And there are certain things like, well, it's a very heavy cuisine. So just like for one time, you should not eat it every day. But from time to time, it would be good. But then maybe we should share a little bit of his favorite food, some Mediterranean, I don't know, salad to it, a few vitamins, well, and some fruit. What really I also like, one of my favorite cuisines is what I have eaten in Israel. Yes, they have the Middle East cuisine.
Yeah.
And there are a little bit of this and that. And I love it because during each meal, you can take a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I think this is the most healthy way of eating because you get a lot of different vitamins and nourishment and so on. They have like parsley salads, which fascinated me because I can't eat too much parsley, but when they make a salad, it's like, tastes divine. So, and hummus and this sort of things.
And what would you drink?
Water, and what I love is always black tea with lemon.
Okay,
it
water
goes
and black tea with lemon.
With any type of food, any time of the day. I don't drink coffee, but for this I drink black tea with lemon.
Okay. All right. I've just got to, Marina's found a quote for us. Learning never exhausts the mind. Leonardo da Vinci. There you go. So that's obviously where the reference came from.
Yeah.
Marina, you're a genius. Okay. So thank you very much for sharing that. Now, what I'd like to do now is take you back, Monika, to the 18-year-old you. So would you share with us, please, where you were living, what you were doing, what was happening for you at 18?
I lived in southern Poland, and this was still, I had one more year to finish my high school. Then I knew I would study, and I actually knew since I was 14 that I would move out of Poland. So this was very clear to me. I am quite intuitive, and when I was growing up, I was growing in a very conscious household where we would talk about things that were basically known as woo-woo at this time, and nowadays are really mainstream in the meantime. So I was very intuitive. So I knew I would move out of Poland. So for me, it was not if, it was just a question when, but I knew I have to finish my schools. So basically that's when I did my driving license. I said, I don't have a car. I don't have money for the car, but I know I will be driving a car. So I need a driving license. So I was very practical. I was preparing to study, and I knew there were two things that I would study: English, and I knew that I would also go to study philosophy and theory of perception in India. But I knew I have to start with English because this was also like knowing this will bring me money in the future, and the other thing will still my interest. So this was like, I was very clear on what I wanted to do. And this was also the time when I founded two Buddhist centers in Katowice, where I lived, because I was I practiced Buddhism since the age of 13 by my own choice. So then we had some groups that would meditate, and then we established two centers, two Buddhist centers. So it was when I was 18.
Wow, amazing. And what music were you listening to at that time?
I didn't listen much to music. This is something that I feel I have a handicap of, because I can't really remember the pieces of music and the name to it. I recognize, I know this music, but I can't really say what it is unless it's really music I like. But I remember we used to listen to Guns N' Roses and Roxette, Aha, and this sort of, it was the end of the 80s. So this was still, music was on. Plus, I loved Mozart. So I had a tape of Mozart, and I would just listen to it, a few symphonies, and I was soaked in it.
Well, Marina and I are with you on the Mozart thing. Mozart's my absolute favourite classical composer, I think. So, how lovely. Brilliant. Okay, so now then I'm going to take you to another point, and I'm going to move you to the 18-year-old you. So the 35-year-old you. So what was going on for you at 35?
I was going into my midlife crisis.
A bit early.
A bit early. Well, I started meditating when I was 13, and basically I was a weird kid. It's very much connected with 35, because I would meditate for 3 times a day for an hour. I loved it, and then I started studying more and so on. So it became like 1 hour a day, and there were different practices which I would do. And at a certain moment when I was over 30. This was not enough. I needed more. And the thing is, I did everything like conscious dying training and everything that is really very deep Buddhist meditation and practices. But I felt limited. I felt that there's more. And I didn't feel there was enough freedom in it. Because what I loved was Buddha's teachings actually, but not the religion, which is man-made around it. And I felt somehow limited by the religion. And some people, you have this spiritual superiority that some people feel. I think it's in every religion. It doesn't matter what it is. And this disturbed me a little bit. And there was more. I knew there's more outside, but it was like the way it was presented is like, this is it. This is the final thing. Don't look around because you will get confused. And I didn't really like the attitude. And I said, like, let me look around. And then I even stopped practicing for a while because I said, I don't feel fulfilled anymore. And there were certain things like I felt intuitively there's more. And at a certain moment, shortly after I left Buddhism, after 27 years of practice, it was very difficult because it's like a community. It's like you're leaving some people and you're judged partly for like becoming confused or something, which was for me not the step. And then I had a friend who was a specialist of shadow work. So I went into shadow work and I actually did it for 1.5 years really intensively. Every day, kind of looking at my own beliefs and certain, why do I have the need of control? Why do I have this and this feeling? Where did it come from? And really releasing a lot of things. So this was a period for me, which was like looking for the meaning of who am I really? Why am I here? Because at that time, I basically left my legacy in the field of education. So I felt like a lot of children have got an access to English thanks to me and my work and the work of people with whom I work. So I said, like, okay, that's already done. Be it, I don't know, 50,000 in Austria, 150 or 200 all over the world. It's like in Europe, because I got directly and indirectly people involved into it who build it also up. So I said, like, okay, that's already done. I need something more. And then it really went into personal development and inner transformation. And then first I worked on myself, and then people started to ask me for seminars, workshops, mentoring. So we went into this very intensively. But I said, first I need to become ready myself before I can really work with others.
Yes, and I think that's the lesson for for most coaches, actually, or anybody that sets them up as that. And were you living in Vienna at that time, in Austria at that time?
Yes, I live in Linz, nearby.
Yes.
My office.
And were you married with children by then?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I was married. I got married in 1995.
Yes.
And I divorced basically 22 years after we got together. So it was a long time. Yeah, it was 20 years later. And I have 2 children. They are now 8 and 13.
Lovely. Okay, well, thank you for sharing all of that with us. We're going to move on to our quick fire round now. So this just requires a kind of choosing type answer. So if I was asked you to choose, do you prefer radio or television?
Radio.
And do you prefer non-fiction or fiction?
Non-fiction.
And are you the oldest, the middle, or the youngest child?
The only one.
Oh, the only child. And at school, so say after 11, were you the goody two-shoes? Were you the class clown? Or were you under the radar? Or were you a bit of a handful, Monika?
I was me. Difficult to say. This was the time that I learned to just say my opinion, which got me a little bit into troubles.
Okay, so a bit of a handful, maybe?
I was not making trouble, but I had my own opinion and teachers could not bend me on that.
You sound a bit like me. In one of my reports, it said, Gillian, because that's my full name, is stubborn and uncooperative.
Oh.
Well, that's because I just wouldn't do something that the school wanted me to do, and so they labelled me. It's very funny, isn't it? Okay, and at the moment, what would you say is your best habit?
Working on myself.
Mm-hmm. And your worst habit?
Thinking that I can manage to do more things at the same time that I can.
You're the third person I've interviewed today, and all three of you have said the same thing. Filling up the baggage, trying to do too much. Okay, and so then, how do you relax?
Breathing, and breathing, looking at the space, like above the trees, the sky, and standing in the sun, closing my eyes, and also grounding myself. It's a very important part, just to breathe and ground myself again. I could not function without it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And you don't know me well enough to know this yet, but we are going to get to know each other,
yes,
aren't we, very soon? Ryanair allowing. So I'm a singer, so I've always sung. That was my very first passion, and I still sing now. So if I was on stage, Monika, and I was to drag you up on stage with me, what would be your karaoke song?
I wouldn't sing. I don't sing. This is something I avoid at all means.
Okay, so what would you mind next to me?
Anything, because I wouldn't sing anything. I had once to sing during a seminar. I have heard it later that this was somebody, a wonderful spiritual teacher, Sonia Shuked. I love her from all my heart, but she made me sing a song that she said herself, you can't manage to sing. And this, I Will Always Love You by Whitney Houston. I sounded just not to be said. So this was
the most difficult songs to sing in the world.
That's because, well, this was, everybody would fail on it. So kind of like you did your best and you knew it was your best. Everybody would just do their best. But I don't really like singing because I presume, my mother told me once, you can't sing, you don't have a voice, why do you even try? So I guess, so the only thing, because it's a low tone, I could sing the Fool on the Hill by Beatles. I learned it because it's a low voice. So this I could do.
I'll sing it with you and it'll all be fine.
I'm not going to sing anyway.
I promise. Okay. Marina's made another comment. She's commenting about Mozart. She says we must go to a Mozart conversation together. And
Absolutely.
she's also saying here, neither a lofty degree of intelligence nor imagination nor both together go to the making of genius. Love, love, love. That is the soul of genius, Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I have...
As with the heart.
Yes, as with the heart, absolutely. So, Monika, I have another scenario for you now. So just to explain the basis of this question. So 2 years ago, my husband and I went to a wedding in Yellowstone Park in America. It was the first time, well, only the second time we'd been to the US. And we planned a holiday all the way around it. So we were away for a month. We had a travel consultant who organized the flights for us and all the hotels. So we just needed to show up. So there was no stress, no pressure at all. We hired a car. We traveled 3,300 miles in a month. And we were together for 24 hours a day for that whole time, apart from 6 hours when my husband hired a Harley Davidson and went off into the Arizona desert. Now, we've been married for 35 years, and that holiday, there wasn't one crossword between us. So wow. I'd like to know, if you were to have a similar holiday where everything was taken care of, who would you choose to take away on holiday that you could spend a month with without a crossword?
Absolutely my daughter.
What's her name?
Caroline. She's absolutely amazing. And she's a very old soul. She's timeless. So she was 3 and she was discussing Black Swan with my aunt. You can talk to her about anything. She understands.
So is this your 8-year-old or your 13-year-old?
13-year-old. Because my 8-year-old is my son, so we definitely have things to discuss again and again. So if I really had to go to be relaxed, I would take my daughter with me.
How lovely.
Absolutely.
Oh, how lovely.
Caroline, yeah.
Okay, now you're probably not going to like this because I have another music question for you. So you talked about leaving a legacy, and one of the things that I wanted to do was to leave a legacy from these conversations that I'm having. So there's a book commissioned called Your Heart Matters, Light-Hearted Conversations with People of Significance, like yourself. And that book is being launched in November on the red carpet at the Royal Horse Guards Hotel. I know you've been invited to that event. And it's also then, next October, going to go around the world in 80 days on the Jules Verne tour. So the top 52 interviews are going to go in, one for every week of the year, into this book. And it's going to start in London in October, and it's going to go to Egypt, Bombay, Calcutta, Hong Kong, Shanghai, Yokohama, San Francisco, New York, Bordeaux, Cobbin Island, and then back to London on something like December the 21st. So that's a wonderful legacy, and it's showing the sort of amazing collaboration of the people that I've chosen to be in the book. But I also wanted to have some music in there too because of my passion for music. So I'm also going to create a playlist. So I'm asking each of my guests to choose one song that they would like included on my playlist, and that song has to be one that makes them feel light-hearted.
Oh, light-hearted. I'm moving with the songs again and again. It's like at this time something really fits me, and then it's moving on. There's nothing that there's like one song going through all my life.
Doesn't have to be then. It's what's going on now for you. It's fine that if it's now. So what would you choose now if you're in the car and you wanted to play on something that you could be happy about? What would that be?
I definitely have a playlist compiled by my daughter. She brings me always the latest music. Lovely. So this would be probably something from there. As I said, I don't remember really titles. I know the music. I can submit it later.
Yes, you can. That's fine. We've had other people do that too.
But so you one of the songs that inspires me is "Be Brave" by Sarah Bareilles.
Yes.
And
okay.
This is one of the songs that I dedicate to people during like seminars or something. It's like, okay, you have your own voice. You can stand up to it. I like music that has meaning.
Yes.
That it's not only just like words, like music and tones, but it's just that it has a meaning. I don't have much time to listen, so I always try to listen to things that inspire me.
Okay, well, you can send me that one or another one, and I would happily include whatever you choose onto my playlist. Okay, so before we finish, I've got one more important question for you. Now, you all know that my passion now is all around natural health and natural solutions and lifestyle and wellness and well-being and so on. And I'm particularly focused on heart health because it's still the biggest killer in the Western world. And I wrote a book called The Heart of a Woman, How to Look After the Heart You Give to the World. And my book is really encompassing not just the physical heart, but also the emotional and spiritual heart of a woman, and looking at the life kind of sections of a woman, and how to live a life of true happiness, which is really enjoy, which is what it's all about at the end of the day. And so my last question for you is, how do you look after your heart from two aspects? So one is the physical heart. What do you do to look after yourself physically? And then also spiritually and emotionally, what is that self-care? What do you do to look after your emotional heart?
So the first thing is that I take a lot of nutritional supplements that really balance my food. There is Platinum Health Products, which goes under the name of Purium in England and America. It's a wonderful thing with a lot of nourishment supplement. How do you call it? It's a lot of nutritions, and they are against free radicals, so it's also very, very important.
Antioxidants, good.
Antioxidants, exactly. Thank you. That's what I meant. And another thing is, what do I do with my heart? It's I go into love as much as I can. Whenever I feel I'm on negative emotion, I have already got to this stage that I feel it. I don't like it. I'm not going to spend a second more into it. And I try to spiral upwards to really go back into joy, into love, into just playfulness. And there is, I love A Course in Miracles. This is something that is a great reference for me. And there is a passage which I really love, and it really reminds me of who I am. And it's connected very much with the heart. And it says, I am love perfected, fear impossible, and in me there is joy established without opposite. So if you go into this, you say, okay, where is it in me? And you look always, every day, you reconnect with this core of yourself, which is love perfected, fear impossible, and joy established without opposite. It's like, okay, where is it in me? So you go back to this consciousness. Okay, it's there. So then you go into, like, I try to feel, okay, what makes me happy? What makes me joyful? What do I love doing? So if I really get too stressed, it happens. I have a stressful job as well. I just like, okay, let me have a breath and let me breathe into my heart, into my energy system, and balance it through my mindful awareness of what is my core, what is my essence, and through breath and energy work, inner energy work. So it's all those levels are being covered every day. So it's body, mind, spirit together. And emotions which are connected with the body.
Lovely. Thank you very much for sharing. And, I think if we can get more people to look after their emotional hearts, and actually their physical hearts will last much longer too. As a health coach, it's very easy to think that what I do is all about the physical, and it is, but actually without caring and that self-care about the heart that you have to give to the world, then we're all under the stresses and strains of our 21st century living. So that self-care is absolutely important. Thank you very much, Monika. I've really enjoyed our light-hearted conversation. I hope you have too.
Thank you for your invitation. Thank you for letting me be here. It was very interesting because certain questions are not so self-understood as like, what will I say now? Interesting.
It's interesting.
I found it interesting.
Good.
We don't ask ourselves such questions too often.
No, absolutely. So, but before we go, I just want you to tell us briefly, if you would, what's coming up for you in terms of work again. I'm going to put your Facebook page up here because I know your website is under construction. So I'm going to put your Facebook link up here so people can connect with you. Just tell us briefly what's coming up for you, what you're excited about in the next few months or so.
Well, it's definitely the Inner Strength Academy, and that's what is connected with the website now. It's the different programs. It's like I want to make people aware of certain things, abilities and strengths that they have in themselves, because the real strength is not the mind power, or it's not the willpower, but it's something that we have innate in us, in our essence. So connecting people with this is really a passion that I would love to go more into. So it's the Inner Strength Academy. And I'm writing my second book, but I don't know when I'm going to be ready with this one, because the book is happening in my life as well. So certain topics, when I go into them, they happen, and I get even more understanding of myself and of certain things. So altogether, it's very interesting. So my Facebook is Monika Laschkolnig. There are 2 pages, so that you can connect with me on my private one, or there is a official wall as well.
Yes, I've put your private one up there, but they both link, so people should be able to get to you from there.
Yes, lovely. And I will be announcing them. I will be announcing the website when it's ready, and can become a reference.
Yes, good, brilliant. And we're going to be seeing each other in Croatia very shortly.
Yes, it will be such a pleasure.
Lovely time with each other, which I'm really looking forward to. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you and everybody has a wonderful rest of the day. Yeah. And say goodbye to everybody. Goodbye. Everybody that's watching now, and everybody that's watching
and joining.
Yes, everybody that's watching later as well, because we know that people join in later as well. Bye, Monika. Thank you very much.
Bye, Jill. It was such a pleasure to talk. Bye.